try to figure out what we want to do. It's a pretty complex situation this afternoon with these thunderstorms and the directions that they're moving in, and how we want to handle it. So I'm going to jump off, and we will be back on here momentarily to answer your questions. All right, so we have no sound. Oh, okay. All right, so they have sound now. So I guess I just talked the whole time without sound, right? All right. Well, hopefully that was at 24. Yep. All right, so I got to start all over again because we didn't have sound. All right. So hard to say what I want Cameron to do, Jaden. I'm looking at the storms here. That's the best storm on radar is this one down to the south.
Right. It's going to end up being a right.
Yeah, it's moving right, moving almost due east. But these cells, as they interact with each other, have a tendency to produce, helps to increase rotation. So that'll be interesting. If we look at velocity scans on these storms, you just don't see any rotation with any of them right now. They're just not there. There's just no spin out there. I heard some thunder here. Yeah. You just don't see a lot of spin with them yet. But I'm concerned, though, that as this big cell that's moving into Wilbarger County merges with this cell to the left, it could wind up maybe helping it spin a little bit. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But and we'll see if any storms can come up to the south. There's a big storm down there south of Abilene. But, these storms, to get tornadoes, we really would have had to let these storms hold off. It's so much moisture in the atmosphere, though, it may not matter. I think these storms will go on to produce tornadoes once they get up into Oklahoma, where the atmosphere is really going to be favorable for that later on this afternoon. So. All right, so I'm going to jump back over on the wall real fast to kind of talk about what we're seeing here. Sorry, man, let me see if I can put. So we got these supercell thunderstorms. All right, the supercell thunderstorms, the updrafts rotate and they spin. What they're feeding off of is extreme amounts of instability in the atmosphere. Instability is defined by CAPE, C-A-P-E, convective available potential energy. We got some strong upper level winds moving in from the west. That's helping these storms take off a bit. But what we don't have is a lot of that low-level spin yet that develops. That usually doesn't develop until you get closer to that 6, 7, 8 o'clock time frame. It's when the low-level winds, the low-level jet begins to increase. I think that could line up perfectly with these storms up here in Oklahoma this evening, up closer to Oklahoma City. But with these storms developing as soon as and early as they may have a tendency to gobble up a lot of that instability or that energy. So as we do see the low-level wind shear increased, these storms, they could be through here and then kind of more up into this area here. So right now they don't have a big tornado threat with them. They're a hail threat. And when you see this much instability in the atmosphere, you get big hail. It causes the updrafts to be stronger. So you get big hail associated with these. And so far, that's kind of what we're looking at. The strongest supercell is this one down here south of Seymour, and that's moving almost due east into the southern parts of Archer County. That's going to kind of brush along the border of Young and Archer County there. Could be some hail threats in Archer City with that. This is what we call a left split. It was a part of that initial supercell down here, and then it split. The upper level winds caused the storm to kind of split like this, and that's lifting northward. And this is a heavy rain and smaller hail producing storm there in southern parts of Wilbarger County. It's going to continue to lift up to the northeast. There's another supercell developing here on the west-northwest side of Vernon. But as this cell merges with the other supercell coming out of Ford County, sometimes when you see these cell interactions, it can cause them to spin a bit. So we'll have to watch that, and oftentimes you see that interaction, they spin a bit, and then they turn more to the east. So if that were to happen, we could wind up seeing some of these storms move right at Wichita Falls. Usually, typically speaking, though, in a severe weather situation, when you have a big supercell to the south, it robs that energy up to the north, and it would cause these storms up this way to weaken a bit. We'll just have to wait and see what the evolution of these storms is going to look like. Either way you look at it, even though we're getting a little lightning, a little thunder here in the falls now, we could get some of these, what we call four-flank showers from these storms here pretty soon but in the falls. But I don't expect the heavier stuff here until maybe after 4:30. And originally I thought it'd be around 7, but it looks to me like these storms are going to kind of get over into this area sooner than that because everything developed so much quicker. It's just so unstable, no cap out there. And that's why these storms are forming. And when we look at instability or CAPE, anything that's over 1,000, 2,000, it's measured in joules, is usually pretty high and considered pretty significant. But when you see a instability getting up 4,000 joules. That's considered extreme. Today it was 6,000. So that tells you how much energy there these storms are feeding off of. It causes those updrafts to just feed off of all that energy, and they can just explode upwards, and it just causes that rising motion to be even stronger. And when you get that upper level wind coming in from the west, it helps that ventilation aloft, so it helps them to continue to rise, and it helps them last longer. So we'll just have to wait and see. We're going to watch this cluster in here. That could wind up, there's a couple things that could do. It could either help a little bit of a spin here, or it could generate what we call a cold pool. If you wind up seeing a merger of these cells in here and it become what we call outflow dominant, meaning they're pushing all that wind out, they're pushing colder, rain-cooled air out, and that too would gobble up all the instability here and would greatly lower our tornado probabilities here in at least North Texas. Not saying that's going to happen, I'm just kind of talking out loud. We do have a new tornado watch that's just been issued for all of Oklahoma down into North Texas. And Storm Prediction Center says it's one of those PDS, particularly dangerous situation. They only issue those and put that wording out with that when they're when they see rare combinations of parameters that can produce significant severe weather, such as significant tornadoes. So we'll keep an eye on that. I think that biggest threat could wind up being up here in Oklahoma, but we need to watch these storms over the next several hours and just see what their overall evolution is going to look like, and we'll kind of keep an eye on that. So I'm going to jump off here and kind of keep an eye on things here, and we'll be back on social media and probably 24/7 channel here in just a little while.